Imagine cutting the time it takes a technician to diagnose a complex field issue from like 15 minutes down to under 10 seconds.
I mean, yeah, that is essentially a 98% reduction in time, which is just massive for any operation.
Right. And you don't get there by buying just another clunky piece of enterprise software.
Yeah.
You actually get there by letting the software build itself.
Which sounds completely sci-fi, but here we are. Because I think everyone listening knows that exact feeling of a forced software rollout, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're sitting in a conference room and management announces this massive multi-million-dollar system upgrade, and it's supposedly going to solve every operational headache you have.
Yeah, but within a week, your entire team is twisting their natural workflows into absolute knots just to, feed this rigid new system the exact data it demands.
You essentially become a servant to the drop-down menu.
Exactly. You are adapting human behavior to the machine instead of the machine adapting to you. And honestly, it is a fundamental bottleneck in modern business right now.
Well, today's deep dive mission is exploring a massive paradigm shift away from that exact bottleneck. We're looking at a future where software actually adapts to your business.
Yeah, where it engineers itself around your specific quirks, your messy workflows, and all those unwritten rules.
Right. And we're drawing on two incredibly insightful sources for this. The first is documentation from InstaLILY, which is this newly funded startup that just secured a $60 million Series B round.
Huge round for the space, yeah.
It is. And the second is a really deep analytical piece by Sheesh S. from Microsoft for Startups. He basically unpacks why this specific company represents a total sea change in the tech industry.
And his perspective is super valuable because he's seeing everything happening across the entire enterprise landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand what they're doing, we have to move beyond the biggest buzzword in tech right now, which is the AI copilot.
Yeah, the distinction between a copilot and what we're discussing today is just critical because we're all very familiar with the copilot model by now.
Right, it's everywhere.
Exactly. It sits in the passenger seat. It might, draft an email for you or summarize a long meeting transcript or maybe suggest a little snippet of code.
But it's fundamentally passive.
Yes, it relies entirely on a human to initiate the action, review the output, and hit send. It's really just an assistant.
Meaning you are still the one driving the car, making all the decisions, and frankly, bridging all the gaps between different systems.
Which brings us right to the core insight from Sheesh S's article. In his role at Microsoft, like I said, he analyzes these customer signals across everything.
Yeah, he's got a bird's eye view.
And he notes that customers are desperately asking for a totally new approach. Because standard off-the-shelf tools, even when you bolt a shiny AI copilot onto them, they never actually cover all the friction points in a real business.
Because every single company on Earth has messy, totally undocumented processes.
Right, and off-the-shelf software requires you to standardize those processes. But attempting to standardize messy reality usually just breaks the business.
Right, because standardizing means losing the nuance of how the work actually gets done on the floor. So if a passive copilot is not the answer to that operational friction, InstaLILY is introducing what they call the world's first AI-forward deployed engineer, or FDE, and they named their AI system Lily.
What's fascinating here is the contrast they draw with the traditional human consulting model.
Oh, this part was so interesting.
Right, because usually if your off-the-shelf software doesn't quite fit your business, what do? You hire an expensive tech consulting firm.
And they send in a team of human-forward deployed engineers.
Exactly. These consultants embed in your company for like 6 months. They observe your workflows, they build a bunch of custom integrations to bridge the software gaps, they hand you a massive invoice, and then they leave.
The second those consultants walk out the door, the business environment changes.
Always.
Like a supplier updates their pricing or a new tax law gets passed. And instantly, all that custom code the consultants just wrote is totally out of date.
Yeah, so the traditional consulting model is basically embed, build, and leave. Lily, on the other hand, is an active AI software engineer that lives inside your system permanently.
It doesn't just assist. It continuously builds and maintains the actual software that executes the work.
Exactly.
To put that into perspective for everyone listening, relying on traditional enterprise software is kind of like laying down millions of dollars of rigid steel train tracks.
Right, it's super expensive and permanent.
Yeah, and your business, which is the train, now has to follow that exact path, no matter what obstacles pop up in the real world.
You can't just steer around a fallen tree.
Exactly. So Lily sounds a lot more like a GPS-guided off-road vehicle that dynamically paves a custom digital road immediately ahead of you based entirely on where you decide you need to drive today.
That is a much more accurate way to look at it, honestly. The AI shifts from being a static tool you wield to being an active agent that observes your environment, writes the necessary code, executes the task, and then adjusts the route when the terrain inevitably changes.
But, moving from the theory of a self-engineering AI to the actual reality of the factory floor is a massive leap.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if I'm managing a fast-moving operations team, dropping an autonomous AI developer into my chaotic mix sounds incredibly disruptive.
Mhm.
How does this actually integrate into a real business without just breaking everything?
Well, InstaLILY has a very deliberate three-step playbook to ensure they don't cause operational chaos. Step one is simply learn the business.
Okay.
Before Lily writes a single line of code or automates any workflow at all, it embeds with your human operators.
But how exactly does an AI embed with operators? I mean, it's not pulling up a chair next to a desk.
No, it's ingesting the digital exhaust of your company.
Digital exhaust. I like that phrase.
Yeah, so Lily shadow monitors your existing databases, it reads the API calls, and it literally observes the actual user interface interactions.
So it's watching what people are actually clicking.
Exactly. It watches a human operator toggle between, say, 3 different screens to verify a shipping contract before hitting approve on a quote. So it maps the reality of the floor, all that unwritten tribal knowledge, rather than just looking at the theoretical workflows in some dusty employee handbook.
Right, so it learns that, oh, step 2.5 is always checking this specific legacy database before proceeding, even if no official manual actually says to do that.
Yes. And armed with that deep contextual understanding, Lily moves to step 2, which is build the agents.
Okay, building the agents.
Right. It writes custom AI automations tailored exactly to what the work actually requires in practice. We're talking about automating complex quotes, scheduling logistics routing, managing these multi-tier approvals.
Yeah, man.
Then finally, step 3, run and improve. Lily ships this custom logic directly inside your existing systems, and it constantly monitors the real-world outcomes to refine its own code.
I really want to focus on that integration piece for a second because the source material makes a massive promise here. They explicitly state Lily works inside your existing systems.
Right, where you already are.
Yeah. It connects to SAP, NetSuite, Epicor, Salesforce, Snowflake, or, even just reading plain text PDFs and managing standard email inboxes. They claim there is absolutely zero rip and replace.
Which is huge. Avoiding the rip and replace migration is perhaps their single biggest selling point.
For sure, because for anyone who hasn't lived through one, a rip and replace means literally tearing out your old system of record, which is like the central nervous system or master database of a company's data, just to install a brand new one.
Yeah, and it takes years, costs millions of dollars, and usually brings productivity to a grinding halt.
Right. So how does Lily avoid that? I mean, how does it interact with some ancient SAP instance without having to tear it all out?
It acts as an abstraction layer. So Lily utilizes APIs to read the data from your clunky legacy system of record, but it actually interacts with your employees where they naturally work anyway.
Wait, give me an example of that.
So it might surface a really complex SAP approval request as just a simple conversational prompt inside a Slack channel or maybe an email inbox. Oh, wow. So I don't even have to log into SAP.
Exactly. The employee just clicks approve right in their email, and Lily goes and writes the necessary data back into SAP automatically. You don't migrate to a new system at all. Lily basically just paves over the potholes of the systems your teams already use.
Okay, wait. If this AI is just writing custom software on the fly for quoting and routing and all this stuff, doesn't that risk creating an unmonitored, totally chaotic mess?
Right.
Like, what if it goes rogue and gives away the farm on a massive discount?
Yeah, that is definitely the most common fear with autonomous AI. And the documentation focuses really heavily on deployment governance to address that exact concern.
Okay, so they thought of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
InstaLILY does not bypass human controls. The custom software it writes is specifically designed to wire human oversight directly into the loop.
Got it.
In fact, there is a detailed interface example in the sources that illustrates this exact safety net. Okay, paint a picture for me. If I'm the operations manager and the AI tries to give away, say, a 30% discount on a massive wholesale order, what physically stops it from ruining my quarterly margins?
So let's say Lily has drafted a quote for a customer, but all the historical data shows that discounts for them rarely exceed 20%.
Okay.
The system is designed with a strict guardrail. Any discount over 20% requires human sign-off before that email can even be generated.
Such it's a wall.
Exactly. Lily recognizes the threshold, it pauses the workflow, and it routes that drafted quote directly to a human. In the specific example provided, it's routed to someone named Jack M., the ops lead.
So Jack just receives a notification summarizing the whole deal.
Yeah. He gets the requested discount, the context of the customer's history, all of it.
And then he reviews the context, and I'm guessing he just has a simple interface with like two options, approve or hold.
Exactly. Approve or hold. The AI is acting as an orchestrator that knows exactly when its confidence level is too low, which prompts it to escalate to human judgment.
So the auditors and the guardrails are essentially hard-coded into the process from day one.
Yeah.
Sure. But, clicking approve is easy for one quote. If Lily is managing thousands of workflows across a massive enterprise, doesn't Jack just become a giant human bottleneck?
That's a fair point.
Like, how does the system actually scale if a human has to click approve on every single edge case that pops up?
So that is where the AI's learning mechanism actually prevents the bottleneck. Lily operates on something called threshold learning.
Threshold learning.
Yeah. So if Jack manually approves that specific 30% discount for a particular high-volume client, say, 5 times in a row, Lily analyzes those approvals.
It sees the pattern.
Right. It recognizes the pattern and basically asks Jack, hey, I notice you always approve this specific discount for this specific client under these specific conditions. Should I just codify this as a permanent rule so you don't have to manually review it anymore?
Oh, wow. So once Jack says yes, the AI just writes the new rule into the software, and the bottleneck totally disappears. Okay, so proving the system won't accidentally bankrupt the company is obviously step one. But the next hurdle is proving it actually delivers real value.
Which they definitely do.
Yeah, the sources provide a really highly specific case study regarding a, quote, labeled RFQ 4821.
Yes, the hydraulic pumps.
Right. It demonstrates how the system operates at a data level, and more importantly, how it improves itself when it inevitably makes a mistake.
The mechanics of this case study are just brilliant. So Lily drafts a quote for a customer requesting industrial parts.
Yep.
It pulls all the data. So it pulls 4 hydraulic pumps at $2,480 and 12 seal kits at $540.
Got the numbers.
Yeah. The AI calculates everything, applies the specific customer's contract terms, and spits out a total of $3,210, which, by the way, represents a really healthy 38% profit margin.
So on the surface, it looks like a total success. I mean, it pulled the right parts, applied the right math, checked the contract, but it missed a hidden business rule that was not explicitly written down in any training manual.
Exactly. Lily originally omitted the freight charges. Yeah, so a human operator reviewing the quote caught the error and manually added a $430 freight charge before sending it out to the customer.
Okay, but this single human intervention triggers what InstaLILY calls the correction learned loop.
Right.
But how does the AI actually know why the human added that specific amount? I mean, if I just add $430 to a cell in a spreadsheet, the software doesn't automatically know what that money's actually for.
Right, but Lily looks at the delta between its original output and the human's final correction.
Okay.
It analyzes all the variables attached to that specific quote and establishes a causal link.
So it's playing detective.
Exactly. It notices that the customer's shipping address was flagged as a standard delivery rather than a warehouse pickup. So the AI extracts a new logical rule. It learns that when the ship-to address does not equal will call, it must calculate and apply a freight charge based on the shipping dimensions of those specific hydraulic pumps.
I mean, in a normal corporate environment, discovering a missing rule like that requires sending out a company-wide memo, hoping everyone actually reads it, and then putting in a ticket to the IT department to update the quoting software.
Yeah, a process that usually takes, what, 6 months?
Exactly. But Lily bypasses all of that because it's the developer.
Right.
The moment it extracted that causal link, it just wrote the new freight rule into its own code.
But it didn't even stop there. It immediately backfilled that new logic, autonomously scanning the entire database and applying the new freight rule to 1,204 other open quotes currently sitting in the system.
Wow. The compounding effect of that is just wild.
It really is.
Just from extracting that one unwritten rule about will call shipping, the source notes that the company's overall, quote, accuracy jumped from 92% to 97%.
And their margin accuracy pushed from 84% to a massive 95%.
Because when you remove human error from the totally repetitive task of checking shipping addresses across thousands of daily transactions, the financial impact scales exponentially.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the documentation even cites surfacing and pursuing over $200 million in new annual sales for a national distributor simply by finding the friction in their, quote, follow-up process and automating it.
$200 million, just by ensuring no lead falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
And the operational time savings they mentioned are even more staggering. We talked about the hook at the very beginning of the show. Technician diagnosis time in the field dropping from 15 minutes to under 10 seconds.
Which is game-changing.
And logistics routing time cut from 15 minutes down to 3 minutes.
And you have to remember, these are not minor efficiency gains. Slashing routing time by 80% fundamentally transforms how many trucks a logistics company can deploy in a single day.
Right.
It completely alters their entire cost structure.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because anyone who has spent time working in enterprise tech knows that software rots.
Oh, yeah. Software decay is real.
It's so real. A static piece of code deployed today will slowly degrade as the business reality around it inevitably shifts, like a vendor updates a pricing schema, or the government changes a tax table, or maybe you acquire a new company with totally different inventory logic.
And suddenly, the expensive custom integration you built 3 years ago slowly becomes entirely obsolete.
Exactly. So how does an AI forward-deployed engineer actually avoid that inevitable software decay?
Well, the documentation tackles this head-on. Off-the-shelf software decays, but an active AI engineer learns and adapts. Because Lily is continuously monitoring the digital exhaust of the company, it automatically redeploys its own code in real time.
Okay, give me an example of what that looks like at a system level, like practically speaking.
So imagine your shipping carrier updates their dimensional weight API, completely changing how shipping costs are calculated across the board.
Okay, nightmare scenario for IT.
Exactly. Traditional software would basically break, or it would spit out wildly inaccurate margins until a human developer wrote and pushed a patch.
Right.
But Lily detects the API change instantly. It understands how the new data structure affects the existing freight rules, it rewrites its own pricing service logic, and then it redeploys the updated code live without any human intervention.
Wow.
You are never waiting for a vendor patch or an IT sprint. The AI continuously rebuilds the custom software to perfectly match the current reality of the business environment.
Man, that real-time adaptation naturally brings us to the macro industry perspective here.
Yeah, let's zoom out.
Because it's clear the ROI is phenomenal for individual operations teams.
Yeah.
But why is Microsoft, for startups, and specifically someone like Sheesh S, paying such close attention to this one particular company?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Sheesh S's core thesis is that InstaLILY is not just a slightly better software product. It represents the emergence of an entirely new category of enterprise technology.
Okay, a new category.
Right. We've spent the last few years totally obsessed with AI assisting knowledge workers. Writing marketing copy, summarizing PDFs, generating images.
Sure.
But Sheesh argues that scaling this virtual forward-deployed engineer model breaks the fundamental business model of enterprise software altogether.
Because we're moving from an era where businesses purchase static software and then adapt their human workflows to fit it,
Exactly.
to an era where software is a dynamic, fluid entity that engineers itself around the human workflows.
And you just have to look at the specific industries InstaLILY is targeting first to prove this model. They are not starting with, simple calendar management for tech executives.
No, they're going hard mode.
Yes, they're building this in the most complex, chaotic environments possible. We're talking industrial distribution, manufacturing, automotive, logistics, field service, and healthcare ops.
Which makes sense, because branch operations for heavy construction materials or triage support in a bustling healthcare facility, those are environments defined entirely by exceptions, right?
Totally.
Urgent, real-world routing and highly specific, undocumented domain knowledge that just lives in people's heads.
And if an AI can successfully map the messy realities of a manufacturing floor, build the custom software to run it, and continuously maintain that code without ripping out the legacy databases, then this model can truly work anywhere.
It is the ultimate stress test.
Exactly. And passing that stress test proves that the era of relying on human consultants to write static integrations is effectively ending.
So what does this all mean? Grounding this massive Microsoft-level analysis back to your daily life, it means the era of the painful multi-year software rollout might finally be behind us.
Which I think everyone can celebrate.
Seriously, the days of you twisting your job to fit the demands of a drop-down menu are numbered. The future of work looks a lot less like serving a clunky machine, and a lot more like having a hyper-competent shadow engineer that observes how you naturally work best and quietly paves the digital road ahead of you in real time.
It really is a profound shift from software as a rigid tool to software as a dynamic, responsive partner that actually understands the context of your daily work.
Let's briefly recap the journey we've taken on today's deep dive. We started with that universal frustration of forcing your team to adapt to inflexible enterprise software.
Right.
We explored why passive AI copilots fail to solve that underlying friction, basically, because they require standardized processes, and how the paradigm is shifting toward active, virtual, forward-deployed engineers like InstaLILY.
We saw how this AI learns a business from the inside by reading its digital exhaust.
Yeah, and how it layers custom automations over existing systems like SAP without any rip and replace. And finally, how it constantly rewrites its own code through a compounding learning loop based on human corrections, all while maintaining strict, scalable guardrails.
It truly changes how we must think about the deployment of artificial intelligence. We're moving from an AI that just thinks to an AI that acts and builds.
Absolutely.
But I do want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to chew on as we wrap up today. We've talked extensively about how this AI's true genius is its ability to shadow operators and map a company's undocumented tribal knowledge.
Yeah, all those unwritten rules.
Right. It watches how the messy, real work actually gets done on the floor, extracting those edge cases. But if an AI can perfectly map, learn, and then endlessly automate that deeply unique human experience, what actually happens to the value of that experience?
I mean, that is the real existential question for anyone building a career on specialized domain knowledge right now.
Exactly. If your deep, nuanced understanding of navigating your company's quirks, legacy systems, and unwritten rules was your ultimate job security, what exactly is your role once the AI extracts that knowledge, codes it into a permanent rule, and scales it across the entire enterprise?
It's definitely something to think about.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the rapidly evolving tech landscape around you. And remember, the next time you find yourself groaning at a clunky piece of software, just know that soon it might be learning how to fix itself.